You know how it is you're looking for those nuggets of knowledge, the insights that spark something, but maybe without feeling like you're drowning in information.
Right. You want it quick, but also, deep.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what we're up to today. We've got this really rich collection of material you sent over, all about the artist Bob Camblin. And
Mm.
we're going to zoom in specifically on the year 1981, but also alongside some really fascinating glimpses into how he thought about his art, the world, that kind of thing.
That's right. And what we have is it's a really interesting snapshot of what Camlin was actually doing in 81,
Hmm.
where he was the exhibitions, but mixed with this very personal collection of his own quotes and reflections.
Okay.
So think of it like getting a shortcut, maybe, to understanding some of the key things that were really on his mind then and how those ideas shaped his art.
So the mission is to pull out what really matters, those surprising bits.
Exactly, those details that give you a real feel for Camblin's world, his artistic philosophy.
Okay, great. So let's dive straight into 1981 then. It sounds like Camblin was, well, on the move quite a bit.
He really was.
Starts the year back in Houston after being in Ireland, right? And then by March, he's got this Collection 81 The Road show going on at 2 Houston Center.
Yep.
What strikes you as interesting about this early part of the year?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is the connection to the Assistance League of Houston.
Ah,
It sort of suggests that even while he was really deep in his own artistic explorations, he was still connected to, his local community.
right, grounded.
And the fact that there was a catalog mentioned, well, that hints at a certain level of formality, maybe, an
Get it.
established way his work was being presented.
Gunnan. In May, he heads back to Kinsale, Ireland. Now, Kinsale, that was a recurring place for him, wasn't it? Seemed pretty significant.
Very much so. A place he returned to often.
But here's where it gets really intriguing for me. The notes say he starts signing his art with anonymous artists or artists anonymous. What do you make of that? I mean, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much does knowing the artist actually influence how we see the art?
That's such an interesting move. It feels almost like a statement against the art market's obsession with the name, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah.
Was he trying to shift the focus purely onto the artwork itself? Strip away the baggage or expectations that come with a known creator?
Or even just playing with the whole idea of authorship, the ego in art.
Could be.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you think about how our perception might change if we just encountered the art cold, without a name attached.
Absolutely. Okay, so then August, he's off to San Jose, California, visiting Joe Tate, and it says he painted a large oil canvas of the studio.
At 507 South Bascom.
It's fascinating how these specific places and people, too, seem to have, really fed into his work. Makes you think about our own environments, how they shape creativity.
For sure.
Painting the studio itself, it feels like he's trying to capture the essence of where art happens.
Precisely. It's like he's not just recording a place, but really engaging with the creative energy in that space. He's making the environment of creation a subject itself.
Also in August, there's another show. Moody Gallery Houston visits Santa Fe, and an Albuquerque Journal piece mentions his oils and drawings of the Irish landscape.
Right, connecting back to his time there.
And it says they were rich in hidden imagery.
That phrase really jumps out. Suggests there's more going on than just pretty landscapes, doesn't it?
It really does. And that phrase, rich in hidden imagery, I think is key. It implies his landscapes weren't just literal. They had these deeper layers, maybe symbolic, maybe metaphorical.
Yeah.
And that fits, with his later interest in things like magic, interconnectedness. It hints he was always looking beneath the surface.
And it wasn't just these exhibitions. The notes also mention travels to New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. Paints a picture of an artist just actively exploring, soaking things in.
Absolutely. These trips probably weren't just sightseeing for him.
No. For an artist like Camblin, think about the different light, the colors, the geology. All of that would have undoubtedly fed into his visual language, his whole understanding of the natural world. We see that echoed later in his quotes about nature.
Right. Then October, we've got Camblin, the image of the house in contemporary art at the Lawndale Annex in Houston. The focus on the image of the house, that's pretty specific.
It is specific.
What can we infer from that? Maybe ideas around home, shelter, perhaps our inner selves, that kind of thing.
Exactly. That house is such a potent, universal symbol, isn't it?
Yeah.
Loaded with psychological, cultural meaning. So an exhibition focused on that theme suggests a deeper dive into concepts like belonging, security, maybe even the self as a kind of dwelling.
Makes you wonder what his particular take on it was.
It does.
And then wrapping up 1981, there's the Little Egypt Water Workshop. It featured his 1971 watercolor Saint Bambola. Interesting that a piece from a decade earlier was being highlighted.
Yeah, and the notes mention the copyright mark was dated 1980, which suggests he might have been revisiting or like reasserting ownership of this earlier work around that time, maybe a renewed interest in that period.
Could be.
And also, the biographical note mentioned there, listing his university teaching jobs, University of Houston included, and his work being in major museum collections like the Fogg, the Yale Museum, Brooklyn.
Right.
It really underscores his established place in the art world, even while he was doing things like experimenting with signing anonymously.
So 1981 feels like this year of interesting duality, very active publicly, lots of shows, travel, but also maybe a time of more internal questioning, especially with those anonymous signatures.
Seems plausible. A lot going on both externally and perhaps internally.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and turn to these really fascinating quotes he pulled together. The first one, fortunately, some things remain forever, or another 10 years perhaps.
Yeah.
It's got this sort of wry humor to it, hasn't it? A little poke at permanence.
It does. It's a gentle nudge, but sharp too, about how fleeting things are. Even things we think are solid, permanent. It kind of sets a tone, acknowledging constant change, a theme that definitely pops up again.
Then there's the bit about the cottonwood trees. 3 cottonwood trees, dense cluster of new branches, now with them gone. Look. It feels like such a sudden shift in perspective, right? Caused by their absence. Highlights how loss can actually make us see things differently.
Exactly. The absence forces a new way of seeing. It's like the empty space left behind makes the surroundings, or maybe a memory, suddenly more vivid. It's a powerful little comment on how perception is shaped by what's missing, too.
And the Salt Air Summer 1967 quote about the music stopping and the decay suddenly becoming visible. That's quite poignant.
It really is.
Captures that moment when maybe innocence fades and the reality of time just becomes apparent.
It's a very sensory snapshot, isn't it?
Yeah.
A shift in awareness. The music stops, the carefree moment ends, and boom, the signs of age, decay, they're suddenly impossible to ignore. Speaks to that universal feeling of realizing time's moving on.
Now this next one, the juxtaposition of the atom and magic. Look into the atom, you get what you need. Look into magic, and you get what you need. Philosophy and art are in both.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
He seems to be saying that both science, the rational, and the seemingly irrational can lead to understanding.
Precisely. He's suggesting that both paths, scientific exploration of reality's building blocks and the more intuitive, maybe spiritual realm of magic, offer valid ways to gain knowledge.
And art and philosophy bridge them.
That seems to be the idea. For Camblin, they act as connectors between these two, maybe seemingly disparate ways of understanding the world.
And his desire for the perfectly average view, leading to a bright gray where science and magic meet, that's such a unique idea.
It really is.
It's like science gives us the black and white, the facts maybe, and magic is the unknown, the possibilities. Camblin seems to want that nuanced space where they meet.
That's a great way to put it. It's a rejection of rigid extremes, seeking balance in that in-between space. The bright gray suggests a kind of harmonious blend, maybe a future where these different ways of knowing actually complement each other.
The assertion about the sixth sense being, without a doubt, sens dubio, feels like a real validation of intuition, right? Especially for an artist, trusting that gut feeling.
Exactly. It elevates intuition almost to certainty. Suggests those flashes of insight often come from somewhere beyond conscious thought, a deep, unwavering inner knowing.
There's a real sense of yearning, almost. In Bright Day and I Soar, how cruel that my soul is attached to this earth and yet captures that classic tension.
It does, wanting to transcend, but being grounded in physical reality, that eternal artistic struggle, the pull between the ethereal and the earthly.
Yeah, relatable.
I think many creative people feel that tension.
The directive to find something in nature that completes you and then surrender, that feels really core to his philosophy, connecting with the natural world.
Absolutely. Surrender here.
Yeah.
It suggests letting go of preconceived notions, allowing nature to inform the artistic process, finding resonance and letting that guide you.
And then he lays out these incredible lines: light, evolution, balance, patience, freedom, silence. Essential elements. It's almost like a mini manifesto.
It really is.
Notice the paradoxes in there too: balance and freedom, patience, and yet implies action.
It's a very condensed expression of his artistic, maybe even life philosophy. He's highlighting how these seemingly contrasting elements need to coexist, and the idea of finding reality in silence, moving away from pain through that reality, that speaks to a very personal, perhaps therapeutic aspect of his art.
The sublime and the ridiculous idea, and how art for art's sake evolves to art for life's sake or survival's sake. That's a fascinating take on art's purpose shifting.
It is. He's pointing out that the extraordinary can be found in the ordinary, the overlooked, and that shift in art's purpose reflects maybe a broader move away from just aesthetics towards art that serves a deeper human need, personal or societal.
The metaphor, step off the train of thought to find a different kind of power. That's really striking, breaking free from conventional thinking.
Right. Disrupting those linear patterns to access more intuitive, perhaps unconventional creativity. Bending is not bowing. Reinforces that finding strength and flexibility, not rigidity.
And then we get these more fragmented thoughts, missing clouds, the mind being ripped out in flashes to reach a still pond. These feel like raw glimpses into the creative mind.
They really do. Snippets offering a more direct look into his internal landscape, the often non-linear way ideas form. Reaching the still pond suggests that amidst the mental chaos, there's a yearning for clarity, for resolution.
The simple directives, when you think, don't act. When you act, don't think, seems to be about being fully present in whatever mode you're in. Avoid hesitation.
Absolutely. It's about focused attention, right? Whether it's contemplation or decisive action, mixing them leads to indecision, maybe diluted results.
The anecdote about changing the world versus paying for coffee, wonderfully grounded, reminds us that meaningful action isn't always grand gestures. It can be everyday stuff.
Exactly. Highlights that tension between big ideals and immediate realities. A subtle reminder that small, practical actions have value too.
And then these incredibly sensory descriptions. The cosmos waves as me with tree leaves. The sun-heated air, the greens becoming white, yellow, green, blue, and shadow. So evocative.
These passages just show his profound sensitivity, his ability to perceive the interconnectedness of everything. It's a very embodied experience of the world, where tiny details are significant.
The on-the-tower observation of clouds, the 3 acts and then leaving before the end, feels symbolic.
It does.
Maybe about appreciating a moment and then just moving on, without needing perfect closure.
It could be interpreted that way. Fleeting beauty, experiencing what resonates, then letting go. Maybe even a comment on our need for neat endings.
And the rain-soaked willows bringing him to my senses, another powerful image of nature grounding him.
Yes, nature as a constant reference point, providing clarity, cutting through the noise, bringing him back to heightened awareness.
Even the simple observation about someone walking by slowly affecting his writing, his heart, it's delicate, showing how interconnected we are.
It really underscores those subtle influences, how seemingly minor external things can impact our internal state, our creative flow.
And then this very direct statement. There is one joy that exceeds all other, and that's all I'll say. It leaves you hanging, doesn't it? What is that joy?
It does. It hits at something deeply personal, profound, maybe something beyond easy words.
The paradox. Not a leaf moves, and yet we all feel the cool breeze, almost zen-like. Captures a feeling that defies logic.
Exactly. Points to perception beyond the obvious, sensing something present even without direct visual proof.
He contrasts arguing with just looking at his watercolor palette, speaks volumes about where he finds solace in the quiet act of creation.
Art becomes a refuge, doesn't it? A space for peaceful contemplation, sensory engagement, away from the frustration of conflict.
His definitions of white and black, followed by, but people are seen. Simple, yet profound. Moves from basic vision to human interaction.
It's a subtle shift, isn't it? From the elements of seeing to the complex realm of human connection recognition, more to perception than just light and shadow.
And that direct address, Mother Nature, how is my last picture? Almost childlike, seeking feedback from the ultimate source.
It blurs the lines, doesn't it? Between artist and nature, almost looking for validation or completion from the natural world itself.
The list of 5 thoughts crashing at South Blaven-on-Bell. A girl in a white dress, Joma board, Mother Nature. So random, yet evocative. A snapshot of a mind moment.
It's a fascinating glimpse into the stream of consciousness, isn't it? The disparate ideas colliding. The detail about no one being injured adds that unexpected touch of humor.
His different ways to end arguments with pessimists and optimists, quite clever. Shows an understanding of different mindsets.
Yeah, it demonstrates a practical awareness of personality types, how to navigate those unproductive talks.
And the question about diminishing perception as people move away, is it eyes, mine, relativity? Classic philosophical question about perspective.
It really speaks to the subjective nature of how we perceive others, how distance, physical or emotional, alters our understanding.
The idea that trying to stop arguing creates an argument.
Yeah.
Very relatable paradox.
Oh, yes. Highlights the often self-defeating nature of trying to directly control conflict.
He distinguishes arguing or agreeing from communicating, suggesting communication is the more valuable goal, about deeper understanding.
Exactly. Communication implies a genuine exchange, striving for mutual understanding, which goes way beyond just winning a point or superficial agreement.
The metaphor of the open gate, broken fence, searching without knowing the quarry's size but keeping faith. Powerful image of the artistic quest, that ongoing pursuit without a clear end.
It beautifully captures the uncertainty, the open-ended nature of the creative process, that unwavering belief in the journey, even when the destination's unknown.
He contrasts revolution and evolution as types of change, placing true balance in individual and collective minds, a nuanced view of societal transformation.
It is. Suggests lasting change isn't just dramatic upheaval, but also gradual shifts in awareness, understanding, both personal and societal.
And then the familiar saying, "You never miss the water until the wells run dry," grounding his reflections in a universal truth, maybe? Appreciate what you have.
Seems like it. A simple but potent reminder of the value of things we often take for granted until they're gone. Fits with his themes of change and loss.
The haiku-like bit about starlings on broken branches, no buds. Stark, beautiful, open to interpretation, resilience, barrenness.
It's concise, evocative, hints at both fragility and endurance, I think.
The clouds circling their tower as if they were intruders creates this sense of being observed by nature, flips the usual perspective.
It does, shifts the viewpoint, making humanity the temporary presence in nature, the constant observer, a recurring theme for him.
The Brian Sketchbook 6, note about a trapped fish. A direct parallel to feeling confined, stuck. Simple but powerful metaphor.
It is, captures that universal feeling of being limited by circumstance, even when you long for freedom.
The whimsical thought of returning as a fly, just to shine in the sun. Delightful bit of imagination. A desire for simple joy.
Speaks to a longing for a different kind of existence, maybe. Free from human complexities, focused on simple sensory pleasure.
And then we get into these incredibly poetic, fragmented phrases, darning needles, so shimmer-lined tapestries, almost like little visual poems.
They really are. Showcases strong visual sense, his ability to evoke rich sensory experiences with just a few words.
Canvas rectangle, summer light, calligraphy, mystic and complete. It's like he's questioning the very essence of what makes art work, what makes it feel whole.
It really encapsulates that ongoing dialogue an artist has with the fundamental elements of their craft and that elusive quality that makes something resonate deeply.
And then these longer, more enigmatic streams follow. Eater of Christians, Chimera Byzantium, filled with seemingly random images, phrases, feels like unfiltered glimpses.
Exactly. A more direct, less curated look into his internal world. Fleeting impressions, memories, associations. Likely held personal meaning, giving us a richer, if sometimes elusive, sense of his inner landscape. Like that whole section starting Calamari to Oblivion.
Right, or the veil of August's heat leading into Icarus imagery. It's dense.
Very dense. Lots of classical references mixed with sensory details, personal moments maybe. First child, glory be, 7 years deprived, my dear, for economy.
And the self-reflection. This strange mirror-bright face cupped between my hands makes me seem so young. Contrasted with white magic, white lies, thoughts of twisted limbs and mind.
It's a real mix. Nature observations like the sandpiper, philosophical hints like this egg in brown leaves has a great secret of mine, that nothing changes. Fantastical creatures, minuscule dragons observed by Buddha spiders.
And then that feeling of artistic struggle again. The painted eye sees more than mine, and God damn it, I see nothing yet.
Followed by wonder. This strange device whirled by a figure of my mind. A beautiful dance. It really covers a huge range. Even humor. Gargoyles gargling water from Gothic churches. You missed me that time.
And ending that section with the hammock facing west. Fingers knit to block the sun, become burning twigs. Such a vivid physical image.
Quite a journey through those fragments.
Okay, moving past those. The thought about nostalgia being like guests or fish don't keep them too long. That's insightful. Healthy balance with the past.
Yeah, acknowledges its influence without getting trapped.
And a dredging memory for archetypes in the reptilian brain. Fascinating take on the deep roots of creativity.
Hints at accessing something primal, universal as a source for inspiration.
The declaration, the artist today is the only free agent. Strong statement about artistic independence.
reflect a real belief in the artist's fundamental freedom from external pressures, expectations.
His thoughts on moving towards participatory art feel quite ahead of their time, maybe, breaking down those traditional artist-audience rules.
It indicates an awareness of a potential shift in how art is experienced, inviting a more active role for the viewer.
The equation religion, belief, and its implications for art. Self-perception. Interesting way to think about how belief shapes our reality.
Highlights the power of conviction, doesn't it? Whether it's faith, art, or our own identity.
He touches on faith, discipline, communication, how they can aid and hinder. It's all about balance, awareness.
Absolutely. Powerful tools, but they can become limitations if not applied thoughtfully.
The statement, art is and it isn't, and now everyone knows love ale,
Mm.
feels like a critique of vague, maybe oversimplified understandings in culture.
Yeah, a bit critical about how those terms get diluted or used without real depth. He mentions confusion between making out and love, feeling good, versus art.
Resist and submit and figure four with their cyclical nature. Sounds like a metaphor for the creative process itself, the push and pull, struggle, and yielding.
The cyclical idea, engaging then disengaging, accepting mistakes as part of learning, definitely resonates with the iterative nature of making art.
The warning against the demon of being right and stepping off the train of thought recurring theme. Break free from rigidity, embrace openness.
Underscores the importance of flexibility, letting go of needing to be correct to allow new ideas to emerge.
His perspective on artistic madness, being loved by historians only when it's safely past. Cynical, maybe, but perhaps accurate.
A slightly sardonic comment, yeah. How unconventional behavior gets romanticized later, but maybe isn't so accepted in the present.
The idea we can train ourselves to open our perception, that's empowering. We can actively cultivate deeper awareness.
Suggests our ability to experience the world isn't fixed. It can be developed through conscious effort.
He makes a clear distinction. Believing versus knowing. Places the mystic's experience beyond logic.
Highlights the limits of purely intellectual understanding, acknowledges the validity of direct, intuitive experiences.
His thoughts on history being believable when creative, and the roles of awareness, familiarity, creativity. Profound stuff about engaging with past and present.
Suggest our understanding of history is shaped by interpretation, and creative engagement allows us to move beyond just facts to deeper comprehension.
Seeing cynicism as destructive creativity, sharp observation about the negative potential of a critical mindset.
It is. Points out even negativity can stem from a creative impulse, but one directed towards tearing down.
The loss of magic in understanding everything versus truly knowing speaks again to the limits of intellect, the value of intuition, wonder.
Suggests a deeper comprehension involving intuition, feeling, mystery, lost when we analyze everything purely through logic.
The paradoxical framing of pushing up and draw, teach, search, reveal invites deeper thought on the complexities within those actions.
These contradictory phrases encourage considering multiple perspectives, the inherent tensions within these fundamental human activities.
The call for eccentric works, a return to naivete, critique of the established art world's stifling originality.
Seems like it. Advocating for breaking away from constraints, history, critics, market pressures, reconnecting with a more authentic, uninhibited spirit.
The metaphor of the critic as a legless man teaching running, pretty brutal, conveys that disconnect between theory and practice.
It sharply critiques judging art without the direct experience of creating it.
He notes the innate need to make marks, before weapons even, highlights the fundamental nonverbal nature of drawing concept.
Connects art making to a primal human impulse, predating language, a fundamental form of expression.
His thoughts on intention, quantity over quality, artists helping historians find Easter eggs, a somewhat cynical but maybe realistic view of the art world.
Seems to suggest motivations can be varied, and historical significance might sometimes be secondary or unintended.
The idea of facility being the Midas touch, and empty art needing critical efforts to fill it, cutting observation on skill versus substance.
Critiques the notion that technical mastery guarantees meaning, suggests critical analysis might sometimes mask a lack of inherent depth.
His observation. The visual arts have finally become non-visual. As Zen, the aimless mind focuses itself. Very abstract, thought-provoking statement about contemporary art's direction.
Points towards a more conceptual internal focus, maybe. Emphasis shifts from traditional visuals to the mind's workings, like Zen meditation.
Encouraging playing the drawing game without fear, doubt, emphasizing experimentation, letting go of self-criticism.
A call for uninhibited exploration, rejecting the inner critic as a barrier to discovery.
Distinguishing between action, analytic, conceptual drawings highlights the diverse purposes of this fundamental practice.
Emphasizes the multifaceted role of drawing, spontaneous gesture, detailed observation, articulating ideas.
He reiterates the nonverbal nature of drawing and concept, art operating beyond language.
Reinforces the idea that visual art often communicates in ways transcending words.
His thoughts on haiku power of simplicity, suggestion, creating impact with minimal elements.
Highlights the effectiveness of conciseness, the idea that less can evoke more.
Finding one's mystic switch as a changing truth. Fascinating concept about the fluid, personal nature of intuition.
Suggests our deepest understandings aren't static, they evolve, and they're uniquely ours.
Advises. Not look, but see. Try to fail to succeed. Process and awareness cannot be failure. Reframing how we approach creation, learning.
Powerful message. Embrace experimentation, learn from mistakes, value the journey as much as the outcome.
Connects writing's origins and pictures to how syntax limits nonlinear concepts, advocating recreate, a return to more visual thinking.
Suggests revisiting a more visual, less structured approach can unlock creative possibilities constrained by linear language.
Discusses how drawing, reading, music occupy the rational mind, while the Zen mind works on intuition. Warns against trying too hard, finding that balance.
Highlights letting the subconscious work, trusting intuition, while the rational mind plays a supportive role. Don't force it.
Encourages resisting learning in the traditional sense. Instead, learn to fail, relax, feel, really think. Distinguishes acquiring info from deeper understanding.
A call for more experiential, embodied learning. Valuing personal insight, critical thinking over rote memorization.
The idea of fearing only ourselves, and the Zen concept of always being Buddha but forgetting. Profound connection to inner potential, self-imposed limits.
Speaks to inherent wisdom within us and how we often create our own obstacles.
Contrasts the seeming magic of mirrors with the real magic of everyone being a mirror to each other. Beautiful thought on interconnectedness.
Shifts focus from external illusions to the profound reality of human connection, how we reflect and influence each other.
The metaphor, fish not knowing water, bird not knowing air, relates to the jump beyond familiar perceptions to gain new insights about our existence.
Suggests the most basic elements of our reality are often the least obvious, and true understanding requires a perspective shift.
Distinguishing negative magic power from positive magic, seeing. Different seeing leads to different art, understanding. Highlights intention's importance.
Crucial distinction. Elevates art, aiming to expand perception, connect us to deeper understanding, over art driven by superficial motives.
Describes real seeing as a deceptive whirlpool of relationships. Emphasizes the complex, interconnected nature of true perception.
Underscores perception isn't passive, it's active engagement with a web of connections. Our understanding is always evolving. He mentions fooling the eye and the mind.
The artist's dilemma. Master technique while audience demands novelty, leads him back to anonymity as potential freedom, navigating skill versus innovation.
Captures a fundamental challenge. Suggests detaching from personal recognition could be a way to prioritize vision over external pressures.
Notes the unfortunate popularization of yin and yang mandala, lamenting superficial understanding when complex ideas go mainstream.
Suggests simplification, misrepresentation of nuanced concepts when widely adopted.
Echoes symbolists, explaining something kills it, caution against over-intellectualizing art, diminishing emotional impact.
Highlights art, often operates intuitively, emotionally. Dissecting it rationally can lessen its power.
Reflects on the wonder and sadness of communications, the joy of mixing fun and art, captures the range of emotions in the artistic endeavor.
Acknowledges both challenges and inherent pleasures in trying to convey meaning through art.
Hopes for different intentions, forms as years pass, influences come, speaks to ongoing evolution.
Reflects a continuous desire for growth, exploration, embracing new ideas over time.
The standard sign against the sunset, having meaning only to we, highlights the personal, subjective nature of meaning, limitations of transferring feeling without shared experience.
Underscores subjective understanding, the difficulty of truly communicating deeply personal experiences.
Those evocative lists, white elements, dried elements, the dead bird, lake, sand, land, powerful sense of stillness, transience.
Stark images evoking impermanence, the cyclical nature of existence.
His advice, there are no mistakes, you are doing the best you can. Liberating perspective. Self-compassion, trust your efforts. Mistakes tell you to trust instincts.
Encourages a forgiving, instinct-driven approach, reframing errors as part of the natural process, even warnings.
Deconstructs pride goeth before a fall into various cause and effect paths. Nuanced understanding of that saying.
Playful analysis revealing complexities in simple proverbs, the multiple ways to fall.
The analogy of two hologram bits arguing instead of cooperating. Great metaphor for fragmented perspective versus holistic understanding.
Highlights, seeing the bigger picture, working together, not focusing on isolated parts.
Discusses the cyclical nature of chaos and order, fundamental principle.
Acknowledges the constant interplay between these states as basic reality.
Introduces the hologram, seeing clearer through togetherness, moving beyond limited perspectives.
A call for collective understanding, recognizing a more complete view emerges when we combine insights, like moving beyond Plato's cave shadows.
Notes approaching an edge of real time. Meditation on immediacy, the flow of existence.
Suggests heightened awareness of the present, the ever-moving boundary of now.
Considers different universe perspectives, finite, steady state, higher order, all at once. Idea that solipsists might just misunderstand. Philosophical reflection.
Encourages considering different viewpoints, acknowledging limits of our own understanding of the universe.
Discusses living in past, present, future through awareness of history, all focused on to dream of how it works. Beautiful synthesis of time, quest for understanding.
Frames human existence as continuous learning, imagining, drawing on the past to inform present shape future vision.
Time travel at the speed of enlightenment. Powerful, concise statement on insights to transformative potential.
Suggests true understanding can transcend linear time constraints.
Uses hawk and snake metaphors for different life approaches. Complexity of the path of least resistance for humans. Various strategies.
Contrasting images representing different ways through life, the unique challenges humans face finding the most fulfilling path.
The way back presented as a sequence. Long silence, melting rocks, infinite space. Poetic journey of self-discovery. Return to fundamental truths.
Symbolic representation, stripping away the superficial to reach deeper, essential understanding. Ending, beginning, next step, action, link, thread. It's a cycle.
Includes the question about Louis Sullivan in a broom closet, an Irish honor as blessing curse, intriguing personal, cultural touches.
Brief inclusions, adding layers of context that might have influenced his perspectives.
Some crutches are wooden, some are gold. The war between futility and provocation. Commentary on support, resistance, the tension between meaninglessness and challenging it.
Suggests aid and opposition manifest variously, and the struggle against futility can be a powerful motivator.
Dolce far niente. Carefree idleness. A welcome pause in the intensity, value of just being.
Highlights importance of rest, freedom from constant pressure.
Okay, then we hit quotes too, starting with that powerful image, the phoenix frozen in a salty shell. Potent metaphor for potential held back.
Vivid symbol, isn't it? Unrealized potential waiting for the right conditions for rebirth.
The empty rib cage full of sand, the living being, the meaning. Stark reflection on existence. Life itself holds value.
Suggests the experience of being alive gives meaning, not remnants or possessions.
The bird and listener waiting for the universe's pulse billions of years from now. Cosmic perspective, dwarfing our concerns.
Places us in the vast timescale of the universe. Humbling perspective.
And then he includes quotes from such a diverse range of thinkers: Suzuki, Watts, William James, Sartre, Zen proverbs.
Bergson, Teilhard de Chardin, Lamarck, Koestler.
Jung, Fowles, Dostoevsky, Salinger, Updike, Barth, Durrell, Huxley. It's like a curated library of his influences.
Exactly. Philosophy, psychology, literature, spirituality. It provides rich context for understanding the currents that shaped his own thinking on creativity, perception, the human condition.
And finally, we get Camblin's own ecology of art thoughts. Artists doing their own thing, their role in nature's balance, even if seemingly self-indulgent.
Right. And his reflections on the meaninglessness of content, time cycles, struggle with chaos, elusive truth in his work.
And that frightening freedom of the few pieces that stand apart from him. It all feels like a fitting culmination.
These concluding thoughts really tie together many key themes. The journey towards authenticity, challenges of meaning, order versus chaos, artistic freedom's paradox, his reflections on the changing art world, teaching at Rice, assumption, capitulation, teaching, even that 1969 thought about ego following like goldfish waste, offer valuable final insights.
So, okay, bringing it all together. 1981 was clearly a big year for Camblin. Outward activity, inward exploration, that intriguing anonymous move. And his broader reflections, well, they offer this incredibly rich, sometimes paradoxical, but always thought-provoking journey into an artist's mind, grappling with fundamental questions about art, life, perception.
Precisely. He raises so many compelling questions that still resonate. What were the deeper reasons for signing anonymous artists? How do we really interpret his often paradoxical statements? Camblin's work and writings offer a truly rewarding landscape for continued contemplation.
Absolutely. So here's something maybe to ponder. Which of Bob Camblin's observations, maybe one of those quotes or ideas, resonates most deeply with your own understanding of creativity in the world? And, why?
Good question to leave folks with.
Yeah, we definitely encourage exploring his work further and maybe even digging into some of those artists and thinkers who clearly influence his fascinating, multifaceted perspective.